Hello students and welcome to ePathshala. I am Prerna Trehan, Assistant Professor Political Science at GGDSD College, Punjab University. In today's module, we shall be looking at a great thinker, philosopher as well as freedom fighter, Ram Manohar Lohia. In today's module, we shall briefly outline his life sketch. We will then move on to his political and social thought, including his views on socialism, his views on... Hello students and welcome to ePathshala. I am Prerna Trehan, Assistant Professor Political Science at GGDSD College, Punjab University. In today's module, we shall be looking at a great thinker, philosopher as well as freedom fighter, Ram Manohar Lohia. In today's module, we shall briefly outline his life sketch. We will then move on to his political and social thought, including his views on socialism, his views on and capitalism as a path for India's development. Lohia made a significant contribution in the field of socialist political thought in India. He always laid greater emphasis on title of Gandhian ideals with socialist thought. He believed that through the principles of democratic socialism, the economy of a developing country could be improved. Although Dr. Lohia was a supporter of dialectical materialism, he put greater emphasis on consciousness. He was of the opinion that through an internal oscillation between class and caste, historical dynamism of a country could be ensured. He was an exponent of decentralized socialism. According to him, small machines, cooperative labor, village government operate as democratic forces against capitalist forces. He considered orthodox and organized socialism a dead doctrine and a dying organization. His life sketch. Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia was born at Akbarpur in UP on March 23, 1910 and died on October 12, 1967. As regards Lohia's background, he received primary education at Akbarpur, passed high school from Mumbai in First Division, intermediate from Varanasi and did graduation in English Honours First Division from Calcutta University. After graduation, he went to Germany in 1929 to complete his master's and to obtain the doctorate degree. He obtained his doctorate degree in 1932 on economics of salt satyagrah from Humboldt University under the guidance of Professor Werner Sombart. Upon his return to India in 1933, he joined the freedom movement at a young age. He was associated with the Congress Socialist Party in the Congress in 1934. With the formation of the PSP in 1952, he was with it for a few years. Later on, with the Samyukta Socialist Party, he joined that. Lohia was a great orator. He was also a prolific writer. Some of his important works are Aspects of Socialist Policy, Marx, Gandhi and Socialism, The Caste System, Fragments of World Mind, etc. Furthermore, he had a wide interest in history, philosophy, literature, painting, etc. At an early stage of 1942, socialists in the Congress were mainly instrumental in motivating Gandhiji to launch Quit India movement. Dr. Lohia was a moving spirit behind the Quit India movement and a leading light along with Achyut Patwardhan, Aruna Asaf Ali and Usha Mehta in organizing underground revolutionary movement in 42 to 44. He formed the Azad Dasta, an underground group, and established its centers at Mumbai, Kolkata and Nepal. He operated the underground Congress radio station. Lohia was arrested in May 1944 in Bombay and sent to the notorious Lahore Fort jail. Lohia laid emphasis on the policy of equidistance from Congress and communists. As fallout, the KMPP led by Acharya Kripalani and Socialist Party decided to merge together in September 52 and the new party was named as Praja Socialist Party, that is PSP. The difference among Lohia, JP and Ashok Mehta was growing on the issue of cooperation with Congress-led movement. To resolve this difference, a special convention of the Socialist Party was held at Bethel in June 1953. In the first week of Jan 54, during the Allahabad conference of the PSP, there was some patch-up. Acharya Kripalani was elected chairman of the party and Lohia was elected its general secretary. During 1952 to 54, Lohia tried to revitalize the Indian socialist movement by giving fresh theoretical and ideological as well as pragmatic and agitational foundations to it. The imprint of Gandhian framework was obvious on Lohia's ideology when he emphasized on decentralization, constructive programs, non-violent protests, and satyagraha. He wanted that the Socialist Party should place equal significance on vote, that is ballot, agitation, that is jail, and constructive work, that is paid. For the reorganization of Indian polity and economy, his emphasis was on democratic decentralization through the Chaukhamba Raj, where power and economy were to be equally divided among villages, districts, provinces, and the centre. In place of reservation, he pleaded for the principle of Vishesh Avsar, under which 60% of the political and economic space for a time-specified period was to be secured for the backward classes comprising SCs, STs, OBCs, and other backward castes among minorities and women. His programs of Dam Bandho in his face of inflation and economic crisis caused by consumerism, Jati Todo during the rising wave of casteism, Angrezi Hatao in a downtrodden phase of Indian languages, and Himalaya Bachao with growing insecurity on the borders are more relevant than ever. Throughout his life, Lohia was a man of action and a hero in leading powerful people's movements against Portugal's colonial rule in Goa in 46, against Rana regime for the restoration of democracy in Nepal in 46 and 49, struggle in the Rewa state in 50, peasants' struggle in Kogudu, Shimoga, Karnataka in 1951, peasants' movement against increase in canal tax rate in UP in 1954, movement in Manipur for establishment of a state assembly in 55, and All India Satyagraha launched by Socialist Party in 1957. During the process of his struggles, he developed techniques of peaceful collective action, non-violent civil disobedience against injustice, and remodeled methods of mass protest through satyagraha. Dr. Lohia was elected to the Lok Sabha in 1963. On his initiative, the first vote of no confidence motion was raised against the Nehru government. Lohia was the conceptual and practical architect of non-Congressism. The political outcome of this experiment was visible in the 1967 elections when the non-Congress governments were formed in 9 states. At the time of the peak of his political glory, at the age of 57, he was famous for his social and economic transformation in which politics was regarded as the real moving force. In his conception of politics, theory and practice, struggle and constructive work, democracy and civil disobedience, symbolically represented by spade, ballot and jail, are combined together. Like Marx, his emphasis was on struggle, but he discarded the idea of violence. He tried to refine the Gandhian techniques of non-violence and satyagraha by accepting non-violent methods of struggle, but adding to it mass-based civil disobedience against injustice and exploitation. Lohia's emphasis was on small machine-driven tools of production and ownership under the control of cooperatives and communities. In Marxist analysis, imperialism is the last stage of capitalism. Lohia did not agree with this proposition. By citing concrete examples from the economic history of India, England, Western Europe, and Africa, he marshaled evidence to prove that imperialism practiced by England and other Western European countries greatly contributed to the rise of capitalism in Europe. He propounded that an Asian socialism should be different from European Marxist thought process of socialism, since historical, material, and social conditions are different in the two continents. In this unequal world order, his theory of 7 revolutions or Saptakranti for building a society based on male-female equality, elimination of color discrimination, revolution against birth and caste-based inequality, revolution against colonialism, and for establishment of world parliament, revolution against inequality generated by private capital and for the growth of capital through planning, revolution against armament, and in favor of mass civil disobedience, offer an alternative to create a just social system. Apart from politics, his books Marx, Gandhi and Socialism, Wheel of History, Fragments of a World Mind, Will to Power, and dozens of other booklets are clear testimony to his intellectual prowess. Lohia Socialism. Ram Manohar Lohia occupied a unique place in the evolution of socialist thought in India. He was the first socialist thinker in India who refused to accept the Russian or Western model of socialism for India. Lohia was a socialist who firmly believed that socialism, if it were to lead the people towards progress and prosperity, must be based on the Indian conditions. Lohia wanted to give a firm foundation to the theory of socialism by chalking out a program of action for the realization of the final goal. Socialism has the reputation of much interpreted and less understood philosophy. In India, socialism means differently to different people. Many thought socialism would either merge with communism or become an ally of capitalism. To remove all such misconceptions, Lohia placed his original thesis on socialism. The basic postulates of the new socialist theory was stated thus. First, both capitalism and communism are based upon centralized power which is incapable of bringing about a radical transformation in society. Second, both capitalism and communism believe in the same method of production. The only difference between them is that in capitalism, some individuals or groups make profit, and in communism, even though there is no individual profit system, a centralized power, class or party monopolizes the benefits. Society does not in reality enjoy economic, political and individual freedom. If we look at communist countries and the so-called free democratic states and analyze the actual conditions of the people, it is quite clear that both are capable of ushering in a social transformation, people's freedom and people's culture. Therefore, both have to be eschewed. Fourth, socialism does not believe in restricted capitalism or mixed economy. It does not believe that this world would ever pave the way for socialism. Fifth, the political and economic objectives of socialism are to establish a free and decentralized society by eliminating capitalism and centralized political and economic influence from the society. The orthodox and organized socialism was therefore declared to be a dead doctrine and dying organization. Lohia made a strong plea for new socialism consisting of the following fundamental principles. First, maximum attainable equality. Second, socialism. Third, small unit technology. Fourth, four-pillar state. Fifth, a decent standard of living. And sixth, the world parliament and government. Equality was the central point of Lohia's concept of socialism. In his own words, he said, socialism is a doctrine of equality. Unless we are careful, it may deteriorate into a doctrine of inequality. Lohia's concept of equality was unique. According to him, equality did not mean or identical reward, because this was not possible as far as capacity and need of the people differed. Equality stood for such an arrangement of social forces that each may get its due, that is, a balancing of share in the toil of living with a share in its gain. He maintained that there was no equality among individuals and also among the nations. Justice, human dignity, morality, brotherhood, freedom and universal welfare could therefore then not flourish in the society. Lohia recommended a sevenfold revolution to fight against inequality and injustice. This sevenfold revolution was revolting for equality between men and women, abolition of inequalities based on color, elimination of inequalities on caste and birth, economic equality through increase in production, national freedom or ending of protecting privacy of individual life from collective encroachments and limitations on armaments. Rejection of casteism in all its spheres. It was necessary for the abolition of caste system that political leadership should come from among the Shudras. It should be broad-minded, truly national, and respected by all sections of the society. The Shudras coming to a position of power and leadership must not think only of the community, but should be concerned with the interests and welfare of all. Lohia opined that it was in the self-interest of the Dwijas to struggle for destroying the caste system, because so long as the caste system survived, the country could not develop or gain in strength. Consequently, it would not count for much internationally, and present Dwija rulers of the country would continue to be regarded as the Shudras of the international caste system. Lohia did not emphasize on education, particularly university education, while picking up Shudras for positions of leadership. He said, "When I speak of leaders arising out of Shudras, I do not mean that they should necessarily be educated. The real criteria is that they should have courage, honesty, and a grasp of fundamentals." According to Lohia, a long tradition of ideological subjection had made the so-called low caste stagnant. An oscillation between caste and class had been the law of history. Caste structure of Indian society had led to political injustice. Evil of casteism. In India, there was a ruling class which was firmly entrenched in position of power and was mobile. This ruling class had three features. First, it belonged to the high caste. Second, it had English education. And third, it possessed wealth. According to Lohia, caste had caused shrinkage of abilities and opportunities, and as a result, 90% of the population had become mentally paralyzed. The process of shrinking of ability and opportunity, once started, went on indefinitely, with the result that certain privileged subcastes among the Brahmins or the Kayasthas acquired more privileges, while the vast majority was continually deprived and became less able. According to Lohia, all political parties of India were led by ruling castes. No matter how much they may strive with one another and whatever irreconcilably conflicting principles they might display, they presented one solid phalanx of distinguished people against the mass, which was caste. The system of equal opportunity could not solve that problem, for when everybody would have equal opportunity, the castes with 5,000-year-old traditions, liberal education would be on top. Therefore, not equal opportunity but preferential opportunity can pull down the walls of these narrow coteries. The four-pillar state. The four-pillar state was one of the important features of Lohia socialism. In order to achieve true socialism, Lohia evolved the concept of the four-pillar state. Four-pillar state was an arrangement wherein constitution was framed on the basis of the four-pillar state. These four pillars were the village, the district, the province, and the centre. These were of equal majesty and dignity. The four-pillar state was obviously not a mere executive arrangement. It was not as if superior parliaments, legislate, and village and district organs were left with the execution of laws. Sovereign power must not reside alone in the state federating unit. It must be broken up and diffused over smallest region where a group of men and women live. The idea of such a state, however, did not represent the idea of a self-sufficient village, but that of intelligent and vital village. Under such a structure of state, each little community would live intelligently and strive after the integrity and unity of the nation. In the four-pillar state, the armed forces of the state might be controlled by the centre, the armed police by the province, but all other police should be under district and village control. A substantial part of state revenue should stay with the village and district, and as far as possible, the principle of election might be applied to administrative instead of nomination or selections. Economic decentralization corresponding to political and administration decentralization might be brought through maximum utilization of small machines. Lohia opined that four-pillar state might indeed appear to be fanatic to many. However, the village representatives, even if they were selfish and ignorant and raised caste above justice, yet to give them power seemed to be the only way to deliver the people from inertia as well as administration that was both top-heavy and corrupt. Lohia believed that by giving power to small communities of men, democracy of the first grade was possible. Co-operative decentralization of power, socialism. The four-pillar state ensured effective and intelligent democracy to the common man. The four-pillar state, Manohar Lohia wanted private property to go except such that did not occasion employment of one person by another. He was not in favor of ownership of property by the state exclusively at the centre, as it was disastrous for both bread and freedom. Part of the property must be owned by the village and the provinces as much as by the centre, and by cooperative reconstruction of economy, it consisted of following items. First, reclamation of wasteland. Second, small unit technology. Third, equal distribution of land. Fourth, food army. Fifth, abolition of land revenue. Sixth, emphasis on small and medium schemes of irrigation. Seventh, restrictions of expenditure and consumptions. Lohia's concern for socialism inspired him to advocate the small unit technology, which was consistent with the demands of justice and equality and suited India and its peculiarities of problems. The large-scale technology was also connected with the waste of war, the economy of destructions, as well as its preparation. Therefore, the solution consisted in decentralized socialism with all its appropriate forms of small machines, cooperative labor, village government, and so forth. The problem would not be solved by going back to the earlier machines discarded by modern civilization, but by inventing new ones with a definite principle and aim that should be available to the village as much as to the city. Concept of small unit technology. An important aspect of Lohia's small unit technology was that labor should have direct contact with his machine. He should be its master and adept in its operation. A prerequisite of such small technology was that capital and means of production should be under social ownership. No man should be hired for labor by another. Lohia did not reject the large-scale industry completely. The heavier machines in steel works or in hydroelectric projects were certainly necessary, but emphasis was on the small unit technology. belief in literacy and Hindi language. Lohia pleaded for the replacement of English by Indian languages, preferably by Hindi. English had to be banished because, firstly, it was a foreign language. Second, it was the language of the privileged class. Third, it created barriers between the masses and the classes. Fourth, it made for unnecessary burdens upon the students, who as a result met with failures, and thus time went much wasted. Fifth, it stood in the way of the language of India. And sixth, it produced a slavish mentality in the Indian gentry who wrongly believed that only English could lead them to knowledge and progress. Relevance of Ram Manohar Lohia. We have in India some great men like Mahatma Phule, M.N. Roy, Ambedkar, Lohia, etc., who in the modern times their ideas are found relevant whenever society is dragged into chaos and bigotry. There are interesting happenings that are significant in the recent past to remember Lohia. The collapse of Soviet Union experiment, the crisis in Europe, the emergence of neoliberal policies along with resurrection of fundamentalism, control of caste and corporate media in consequence of poverty of Indians in public debates call for a reflection on the ideas of Lohia once again. Unlike several other Indian leaders, Lohia did not go to England for his higher education, as he abhorred the Anglo-Saxons. He was trained by one of the foremost economic historians of his times, Sombart, and his contemporaries included the famous Schumacher, whose small is beautiful derived ideas from Gandhi and Buddha. His approach to the study of Indian problems is indigenous and critically drawn from Indian philosophical thought. Lohia used several examples from Indian thinkers like Shankara to illustrate his point. He was very critical about Marx being at the same time being a Marxist and used his theory of surplus value for analysis. A major criticism against Marx was that he had used his European background for the study of Asian or Indian problems that are much different. He was of the opinion that Marx's lack of knowledge about Asian society made him draw extreme generalizations. Lohia's criticism about Soviet Union or Stalin era did not last long. It is here that we need to revise some of our reflections on Lohia to make him relevant. The critics and admirers of Lohia should not hesitate to recognize the limitations of Marx, the Soviet model, and even China, which do not exist anymore to extend the logic. Lohia has spelled out his socialist agenda in terms of 6 programs, that was maximum attainable unity, equality, social ownership, small and indigenous technology, 4 pillars of state, decentralization of industry, and world parliament and government. These goals Lohia thought could be achieved through his 7-point revolution or Sapta Kranti, which were equality between men and women, shun color discrimination, annihilation of caste and status based on birth, revolution against colonialism, revolution against private capital, revolution against armaments, and creation of world parliament. Unfortunately, very few thinkers seem to have taken these ideas seriously and never have interrogated them. However, his ardent followers are also, to an extent, responsible for this apathy that failed to raise these issues for public debate at all India level. The followers of Lohia were confined to the Hindi belt and few pockets of social groups, though they were supported by Bahujan majority. In conclusion, Lohia is seen as an indigenous thinker correctly who strategized his political move to bring equity and equanimity in a caste-ridden Hindu society. In this process, Lohia is far ahead of his caste man and mentor Gandhi and also Marxists. Lohia was one of the ardent supporters of democratic decentralization and power to the victims of caste system. Although there has been a tendency among contemporary researchers to not recognize him in an academic builder in the tradition of Kant, Hegel or Comte, his democratic socialist approach to look at ideology as an integrated phenomena is now widely accepted throughout the world. Religion and politics, so said Lohia, are deeply interlinked and at the same origin. He said, religion is long-term politics and politics is short-term religion. Religion should work for doing well and praising goodness. Politics should work for fighting evil and condemning it. When the religion, instead of doing something good, confines itself to only praising the goodness, it becomes lifeless. And when politics, instead of fighting evil, only condemns it, it becomes quarrelsome. But it is in fact that imprudent mixture of religion and politics that corrupts both of them. In conclusion, we realize the varied contributions of Ram Manohar Lohia towards the Indian political thought. His ideas of non-congressism, Dam Ghatao, Angrezi Ghatao, Himalaya Bachao are all relevant in today's scenario as well. Furthermore, the ideas of Sapta Kranti and the 4-pillar state help us realize the goals of Indian Swaraj. Moreover, the emphasis on Hindi as a language that would bind the Indian masses, the unity amongst various communities, as well as emphasis on having an indigenous economic system based on small unit technology is of great relevance to remove social evils like poverty and casteism in the Indian scenario today. Thank you.